Okay, we're in the middle of the biur, the explanation on chapter 20, in letter 27 in Igeres HaKodesh of the Balatanya, and we're learning about how a tzaddik's life is his emunah, his yira, and his ava, his faith in Hashem, his love for God, his fear for God, and how each student of the tzaddik, if he only allows himself and desires to bond with the tzaddik, can benefit from these aspects of the tzaddik. And the Alter Rebbe said that the ruach, there is nefesh, ruach, chaya, yechida, different levels of the soul. He said that the nefesh of the tzaddik soul remains at the grave. The ruach ascends to heaven, and when we bind ourselves to the tzaddik, we access the ruach, and that ruach from heaven comes to inspire us with the tzaddik's yira, emunah, yira, and ava. That's what we learned until now. So let's now go. What?
When you say bind yourself to the tzaddik, is that through learning his Sfarim?
Yeah.
Just been contemplating.
No, the Rebbe was asked that question years ago, and the Rebbe said it's in several ways, but it's in three ways: in machshava, dibra, maisa, through thought, speech, and action. So, action, it's doing those things that tzaddik called for and wanted his Hasidim and people that identified with him to do. So, with the Rebbe, for example, he wanted people to do the mivtzoyim, the campaigns of putting on tefillin with Yidden, making sure they have kosher mezuzahs, Jewish children, daughters and women should light candles from the age of 3 and on. So any of those campaigns would be an example of Maisa. Then there is in Dibur. Dibur would be learning the Torah of the Torah, the writings, the teachings of that particular tzaddik, learning them, studying them, absolutely, and you use your mouth, your dibur. And finally, machshava is brought down, it's through singing a niggin or nigunim that tzaddik either composed or you saw that he really enjoyed and wanted people to sing that niggin or those nigunim. So that's in machshava. So it's in every aspect of a person's life, not just through dibur and learning, but of course you probably say more importantly maisa. So the act, one second, Hillel, the act of learning, not the tochen, not the content of the learning, but the act of learning would be maisa too. In other words, a person who doesn't go around to put tefillin on with people and doesn't do any of the campaigns, it doesn't mean to say that person cannot partake in the action-oriented part of the tzaddik. Learning the Torah, the learning part, the sitting down and learning, is the maisa within dibur. Then there is the dibur, the saying of the words of the particular tzaddik's Torah. So what I'm saying is that you could fulfill both dibur and maisa within learning. Hillel, what did you want?
Rabbi Epstein was asking a question earlier, and I wonder what your response would be. In the realm of machshava, dibur, maisa, where would we put regesh, feelings, our emotional life?
Emotional life would be more in machshava. Machshava.
That was my answer too. That's what I thought. I thought they're really related. They're essentially similar.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're at the words. It's where it says there. I don't know what sefer you have, but there must be a mark that this is the chitas for the 15th or the 14th of Cheshvan. That's what we're going to start. V'hinei, you have it. V'hinei, behold.
Biyos Tzaddik.
Okay, Biyos Tzaddik Chayal Pnei Adamo, while the Tzaddik was alive on the face of the earth. Hoyu Sholish Midas Elu, these three midos were B'toich Keli V'Levush Shelahem. They were contained in their vessel and garment. They were limited. B'Pchinas Mokim Gashmi, they were on the physical plane and space, and they were limited by the physical plane and space. Shehi Pchinas Nefesh Hakshura Begufay. This means that the aspect of Nefesh, of the Tzaddik, which is bound to his body. Nefesh represents the level of the soul that's most closely associated with the body. So the Nefesh aspect, Yehuda, of the Tzaddik, was limited because the Tzaddik is in a body, in a guf, right? So his body is in Miron, he's not in Yerushalayim. So that's the Nefesh aspect. Let's continue. V'chol Talmidov, and that's why, from that perspective, during his lifetime, all the students only receive a reflection of his holy utterances and thoughts. It's only a reflection. You could sit at the Tzaddik's feet, hear the Tzaddik teach, but guess what? You're not getting all of the Tzaddik. You're only getting part of the Tzaddik. Why? Because the tzaddik is in a guf gashmi, in a physical body, and automatically the physical body limits what you're getting, just by definition. That radiates beyond this vessel, that means the tzaddik's body, through the tzaddik's holy utterances and thoughts. The tzaddik's utterances and thoughts are able to reveal no more than a minor ray of his attributes. And that's why the rabbis teach in the Gemara, Shein Adam Oimed al Das Rabbi. The Gemara says in Avodah Zarah, one cannot fathom the depths of his master's teaching until the passage of 40 years. We learned that the other day. Let's continue. Avol. After the tzaddik passes on, you can get all of the tzaddik, and he explains why. Listen to this. Because since the nefesh, which remains in the grave, is separated from the ruach, which compromises these three attributes after his passing in the Garden of Eden. In other words, the three attributes are now unbounded by the body. And where are they? They're in the Garden of Eden, a spiritual place whose atmosphere surrounds every individual in this world, like the Alter Rebbe is going to tell us now. Now here we're going to a very important point. If I asked you, is it Rabbi Daniel, our new student? Daniel, is it Daniel? What's your name? First name?
David.
David, I'm sorry. If I asked you, David, where is Gan the average person will say, Gan Eden's up, you point upward, like you ask a child, upward in heaven. Well, the Alter Rebbe now is going to share a thought that says in Kabbalah, Gan Eden is right around you. Where you're sitting, that's where Gan Eden is. The question is if you're conscious of it or not. How do we know this? Yoni, how do we know this? This isn't a Hasidic fairy tale or a Kabbalah fairy tale. This is a Rashi in Chumash. So, you don't have to be a Chassid to believe a Rashi. What does Rashi say? That when Yaakov came to Yitzchak to get the blessings, the brachas, right? There was a smell, there was a reyach. What does Rashi say? Basic Rashi, that a 5-year-old and a 10-year-old learns in Cheder. It says in Rashi that he smelled the Tam Gan Eden, the taste of Gan Eden walked in with Yaakov when he walked into the room. If you don't accept that Rashi, then, I have nothing to say. But that's what Rashi says. So it has nothing to do with Chasidus and Kabbalah and Musar, and it's universal. So what does that mean? What does it mean that Yitzchak smelled Gan Eden when Yaakov walked into the room? The Alter Rebbe will explain very shortly. What it means is that Gan Eden is a consciousness that is real and present within a person. The question is whether the person makes it accessible for others to taste and smell or not. That's Gan Eden. There are levels of Gan Eden called the upper Gan Eden, lower Gan Eden, Elyon, Gan Eden, Tachton. That's already all semantics and not relevant for our discussion. But the overall idea of Gan Eden means that it's around you, the person. It's not elsewhere. It's you. So now with this concept, Alter Rebbe says, we can understand that when the Tzaddik passes away and there's a separation between the nefesh and the ruach, the soul, the spirit, and the soul, meaning two aspects of the soul. One's called the ruach of the soul, and one's called the nefesh of the soul. He teaches us here, in the name of Kabbalah, that the nefesh remains, and you should be learning that in Shara Gegulim, I believe, Hillel, that the nefesh remains at the grave. The ruach returns to Shemayim with the tzaddik. And then, when we access the unlimited tzaddik, because he's no longer in a body, we are accessing a Gan Eden experience. That's what he says. Let's continue and see how he says it. Since the ruach of the tzaddik is now not within a vessel, nor is it on the plane of the physical space. Why? But it's in the Garden of Eden in Gan Eden, which is to be found within this world as well. You see here Moshe, he quotes the Chazal, Al Yaakov Avinu, regarding Yaakov, Olav Shalom. Shenichnos imoy Gan Eden, that when he went to get the brachos from his father, it says that the Garden of Eden, Gan Eden, entered with him when he came to be blessed by his father. V'chein kosev b'sefer Asara by Modes. Now the Alter Rebbe brings also a Kabbalah sefer which supports the same idea. Sha'avir Gan Eden mispashet soviv kolodom. Listen to that. It's Maimer Hillel, yes?
Can you know the background? Who's the Mechaber?
I don't, but I'll look it up later. I don't remember now, but it's an early, I believe, it goes back 500 to 1,000 years. That's my recollection, but don't quote me. I'll try to find out for you, and I'll tell you next year. So, in the Sefer Asara Maimonis, it says that the atmosphere of Gan Eden envelops every individual. Now you understand what this means. When someone comes in and they smell good and you say, oh, I smell that delicious and great perfume. Fool, you're a fool. That's external. That's superficial. Real perfume is Gan Eden. So if someone walks into your house or you walk into the Beis Medrash, ask yourself a question. Do you smell Gan Eden in this Beis Medrash? Do you smell Gan Eden when you're standing and talking to your friend? Or do you smell other things? We won't specify what the other things are. Okay? But that's Gan Eden. That's what it says in Sarah Maimoros. The man, the person, has been so permeated with the energy, with the consciousness of holiness, of Ruach, that the person now has a smell and taste of Gan Eden. And by the way, that's what you want to get to with your spouse. You want to be able to accomplish that you don't smell her perfume. You smell her Gan Eden. And if you smell her Gan Eden, you'll never want to let go of that Gan Eden because you want Gan Eden. Who doesn't want to be in Gan Eden? That's the idea of coming to a point of consciousness where you look at another person and you see the Gan Eden in them. And in this atmosphere are recorded. Here, listen to this. All the good deeds, thoughts, and utterance, and divine worship, that's Gan Eden. So here's another point, Yoni. What's Gan Eden? Gan Eden is a place where all of your thoughts, all of your utterances, and Torah mitzvahs and service, it's all there. It's stored there. It's that treasure box, Shalom, that has it all. So if you come into the room and you smell someone's Gan Eden, you're smelling, oh, this is a person who I see, did these mitzvahs and learned this Torah and helped these Eden. You feel it. You feel it just walking into the room and with him. Continuing. Now he says the punch, he gives us a little punch. And likewise, to the contrary is also true. Chas v'sholom, heaven forfend. It works both ways, my friends. The atmosphere of Gehenna is also envelops every person. My father would always tell us when we were growing up, as a European Jew, he would say, when, something was going haywire and crazy and bad and all that, he would say, oh, the Gan Eden the Gehenna is already working. Or, with Matzah Shabbos, as soon as Shabbos is over, and you start jumping around, you start acting around, you start screaming, and you start playing, and you start running. My father would say, oh, Gehenna is reopened. So Gehenna is also around a person. So you can meet a person and you sense Gehenna in them. And guess what? You can sense your own Gehenna. Here we're talking about sensing someone else's. Well, guess what? There's also the idea of sensing your own Gehenna and your own Gan Eden. Anyway, let's summarize. After the Tzaddik's passing, his power and his faith, his awe and his love are not limited by his bodily vessel and by the physical world in general, but are in the Garden of Eden, which is to be found in this world as well. And I think, my friends, you need to really think about this, understand it, and work to feeling, And I'm telling you, it doesn't happen every Monday and Thursday. It's not Monday Night Football. This is a sensitivity that a person develops. But this is the point that the Alter Rebbe is making. That a tzaddik who passes on, if you're only sensitive, you will benefit from his Gan Eden. And that's something you couldn't access as much during his lifetime. Why? Because during his lifetime he's limited, right? Tzemach. He lives in Switzerland, so he's not in Poland. He says ABC, so it's not GHE, whatever. In other words, his thoughts are limited, his speech is limited, and his action is limited by the body. But once he passes away, those limitations dissipate, so it's all open. It's all up for grabs. Now, if you sensitize yourself, you can actually experience that consciousness. Hilchak, look what he says. Nekel mi'oid. Look at those words. You know what nekel means? It's very easy. He doesn't say Yehuda Hilkach, the students can get it. It's easy for us students. To receive essential aspects of their master's ruach, referring to the faith, awe, and love that he served God with. He repeats, and not only a reflection and a glimpse that will illuminate outside of the vessel, but rather the whole thing. Because the essential aspect of his ruach, it ascends from with elevation beyond elevation, to incorporate itself into his level of what's called the Shama Shabbat in the supernal Gan Eden, in the higher worlds. It's known. Shekol Dover Sheb Kedusha Ein Nekar Legamri Mikol the Kol B'Mekaymoy U'Madrega Rishaynai. Why do we go to the Kaisel? Why do we go to the Kaisel, Reb David? Why? You know why we go to the Kaisel? Because there's Kedusha there. Why is there Kedusha there? Because the Beis HaMikdash was there. But wait a minute, it was destroyed. We have a rule. It's brought in the Gemara. Kedusha in Azazim Mekaymai. Holiness does not remove itself from the place. When you go to the Kaisel, you're getting the energy of 2,000 years ago. When you went, Hillel, and I think Moshe too, you went to Reb Mendel Vitebsky in Tveria the other day, guess what? You actually picked up some of his Kedusha. Kedusha in Azazim Mekaymai. So the Alter Rebbe brings this, Yehuda, in regard to what he's discussing now. That since Kol Dover Shebekdusha, every aspect of holiness, Eina Nekar Legamri, you see the word, it is Nekar, by the way, right? You can't compare the Beis HaMikdash 2,000 years ago as we have it today, right? But that's why he uses the word here in Tanya, Eina Nekar Legamri. You see this word, Hillel, Legamri. It's not completely uprooted. So even when the Tzaddik's Ruach is ascended into his Neshama level, and it ascends up, there's still a remnant of it below. This original aspect deriving from the Ruach of the Tzaddik, that remains in the lower Gan Eden, because it's in its original place and level, it extends itself in his students. For this aspect has detached itself from the essential aspect of the Ruach of the Tzaddik, its entire purpose to be vested within his disciples. In other words, the Tzaddik says, I want to give part of myself to my students. And that part is for all of us, for the students. Kol echad lefi bchinas hiskashrusei b'kivosei elov. Is there a difference between the way we each receive from the Tzaddik? Says the Alter Rebbe, yes, Hillel, Yoni, and everyone else. It depends on how much you bind yourself to the Tzaddik and how close you are to the Tzaddik. How close you were to the Tzaddik during his lifetime and after his lifetime. Bi'ava, with love. In other words, like this, the more you love the Tzaddik, the more he's going to love you and you're going to benefit from him. The less you love him, the less you're going to benefit. Another important rule. Anything spiritual is elicited only by means of an abounding love. And when this degree of love is present, the three attributes of faith, fear, and love are then drawn down. Without Ava Rabbah, without real palpable love, you're not getting so much. You're getting just a glimpse, a little bit. You want all of it, then you have to exert effort. And it's so true in life with every aspect. If you love someone a little bit, you get a little bit. If you love someone a lot, and with all of your soul and heart and everything else, you're going to get a reciprocal effect. And if you don't, then there's something outside disturbing that relationship, which needs therapy and work, etc. But otherwise, the norm, that when you show Ava Rabbah, an abundant love for someone or something, you are going to get a reciprocal effect of Ava Rabbah. So in our scenario, when we show a deep love for the Tzaddik, the tzaddik will reciprocate and show that love for you. And he says, as it says in Zohar, the ruach derusa liba, that the spirit, ruach, of the inner heart's desire, amshich ruach mil'ela, elicits a spirit from above. So too, the disciple's heartfelt love for his master draws down these three attributes. Rak im yikoin lekras alikov, but only when, if he will prepare himself. That's why we have to prepare ourselves now for the special day of Yud Shvat next week. Ba'achona rabba v'yigiatzuma. And the preparation takes great preparation and intense effort. Right? L'kabel sholosh midos halolu kederach shahiroyu rabbi. To receive these three attributes in the way that his master taught him. So he brings the Gemara. Very simple. The Gemara says that the way you benefit is through preparation. So I want to read to you a note here for the previous Rebbe, since his yard starts next week. As explained by the Rebbe Rayatz, only if he will prepare himself towards his God with a great preparation and intense effort, means that every man's task is to vest this faith, awe, and love within the physical, everyday life in the observance of Torah mitzvahs. It would also seem, from the continuation of the explanation, that the meaning of if you've labored, believe it, is that the individual then gains a great deal more than what he actually labored for, very much like an unexpected find, right? Yogaito matzasa means you will work very hard. Umatzasa, it implies not just you'll find what you lost, you'll find much more. Through a person's toil, successive generations of offshoots are bound up with their source within the essential aspect of the Ruach. This means, basically, I'll say it in my own words. Basically, when we exert ourselves in working in Avodas Hashem and doing what the Tzaddik wants, it benefits our future generations. Your great-grandchildren will benefit from the effort that you're doing now. Your gaita umatzasa doesn't only mean that the amount that I exert of it, that's how much I'm going to find. Your gaita umatzasa tzemach means that you're going to get so much more than what you invested. Right? That's what, it's a stock investment that will, double and triple, and the longer you hold it. I once knew someone whose father and then bought, in the 1940s or stock, and he never touched it. And then 1980s, 90s, it was worth so much more. The company managed to stay around, and he told me there were times the stock, plummeted, but he didn't sell it. He just didn't touch it. That was a rule that he had. He didn't touch. 40, 50 years later, the stock was worth a tremendous amount, and he gave a lot of tzedakah because of that. What's the point? The point is that an investment, and that's an investment. His father already passed on. So the investment impacted his son, and the son giving tzedakah impacted future generations to yeshivas and everything else. And that's the same thing over here. That a person has to know that the investment that we do by exerting ourselves to connect with the machshava, dibur, and maisa of a tzaddik is an investment not only for yourself, but for your future. And I think that's something very, very practical for each and every one of us. And we stand today, it says, we're like nanas al gabi anok. What's a nanas al gabi anok? A midget on the hand. Okay, Shabbos. A midget on the hands of a giant, right? When a giant picks up a midget, the midget is even higher, right? In other words, there is a midget who's short, and when when a regular person picks up the midget gets a little bigger. Imagine if a giant picks up the midget is so much taller and higher. So it's brought down that we today are the midgets on the hands and the arms of giants, because we are walking on everything that our ancestors did for us for so many generations. And I go back to my experience last month when I visited Poland, and with all the devastation and destruction, why are we here today? Because of what our parents and ancestors went through in the past. That's why we're here today. And now make that calculation, Yoni, for your children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. What you put into them today is what they're going to have in 100 years from now. With Mashiach's coming. I'm not... Even when Mashiach comes, it doesn't say that they won't reap the benefit from your work. May Hashem help that we all have a great Shabbos. Listen, whoever is a Chabadnik here should get an Aliyah this Shabbos. It's customary to get an Aliyah before your parents' yahrzeit. We Hasidim consider the previous Rebbe, a parent, a spiritual parent of ours. So those that are Chabadniks should try to get an Aliyah and shul, Shachris or Mincha, regardless, if possible. And we're getting closer to the countdown. We'll continue learning in Mitzvah Shem Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and ready for the preparation. Have a great Shabbos, everyone.
Can I ask you something?
Yes.